District is 33. Division A open house.
Welcome. Welcome to our audience here live on Zoom, and welcome to our audience abroad. We're here tonight to discuss a Division A open house event that is going to take place on December 1st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Quartz Hill Library in the city of Quartz Hill. We are Talents Unlimited Toastmasters, and we do meet here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And tonight we're going to talk about why Toastmasters is a special organization and why investing in yourself and this it has such great, it's a great experience and what it brings into your life professionally and personally. We have the obvious benefits of Toastmasters. People think right off the bat that, it's about public speaking. Well, that is true. It is about public speaking, but what is public speaking? It's not just about giving speeches. It's about, giving presentations, delivering a message in a meeting, to include just speaking in public. Could be at a pub, could be at a cafe. But there's a lot more to it than that, because Toastmasters is a great deal more than just about speaking. More importantly, it's about listening. So Toastmasters does help with those communication skills as well. And there's a multitude of communication skills because it involves nonverbal skills, gestures, voice variation. In addition, Toastmasters provides that opportunity to build your leadership. As an example, Jim Kearney here. Jim, I know you've been an officer in many clubs. In addition, you've been a growth director, a multitude of leadership skills. What kind of opportunities has Toastmasters provided you to be able to serve its members?
Well, Robert, I want to say I'm different than most people. Right. So that when I joined Toastmasters, I didn't want to join Toastmasters for talking, right? So I had this friend of mine, Benny, and we were carpooling back and forth to work for almost 3 years. And he would always ask me to join Toastmasters. And to me, it was always about public speaking. I don't give a crap. I mean, when I ran for lieutenant governor of Florida, I just get on my soapbox and rattle off a 15, 20-minute speech off the top of my head. So to me, I didn't have a problem with public speaking. It wasn't an issue for me. And then one day he asked me to help him with something on an open house. And I walked in there and I helped him. I did the stuff that he had asked. And at that point, I just kept on helping. And here I am. So in my eyes, if you have a skill or you have knowledge and you don't pass it on, then you're being foolish. You're cheating society. I mean, think about it. I could go out there and I could get all the knowledge. I would be omnipotent, right? I would have all the knowledge in the world. I would be, from that point, I would be God. But if I don't pass that information on to anyone else, what's the sense in having all that information? I'm not helping anybody if I don't pass it on. So it's important that we pass that information on to other people. Oh, Robert disappeared. Bummer. So Carolyn, let's continue the conversation, even though Robert's not here. So from your point of view, Carolyn, you joined Toastmasters, you wanted some skills. Since you've been in Toastmasters,
you gotta
have
come
you
right over here.
acquired the skills that you were looking for?
Okay, when I joined Toastmasters, I really didn't join to acquire any skills. I joined because somebody asked me to. In the process, I have improved my leadership skills and my communication skills. And when I say I have improved my communication skills by becoming a better listener. I probably didn't have a lot of problems talking to people, but sometimes I don't always listen attentively, yes, intently. People talk to me, and a lot of times I'm thinking about other things while they are talking. But because of Toastmasters and because of you have to listen to people that give speeches and evaluate them, or if you're the Toastmaster, you got to be intent, listening to what's going on in the meeting. I've learned to be a better listener. And listening is a big part of communication that sometimes people miss out on.
Well, that's a good point. And I always like to remind people that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should be listening twice as much as we be talking. Flora, tell us about your trip through Toastmasters. I mean, when you first joined Toastmasters, what were you expecting versus what you have now?
I had no expectations of Toastmasters. I took my kids to the gym, to the YMCA, to a swim on Friday evenings. And they were having meetings. And I just got pushed. First of all, I was the inaugural president. They were beginning a new club. As I became that inaugural president of that club, the mentors and the coaches that was a part of the club, they all kept saying to me, Flora, you're not telling us, you're not giving us who you are and what's inside of you. And again, I didn't have problems speaking. I had been in many organizations and had been club officers of many organizations. I didn't really have a problem speaking, but I did learn many leadership skills. The most important leadership skill I think that I believe I learned is how to deal with people, or I learned how to consider others, to be confident and to give confidence to those who I'm speaking to give confidence and encouragement, mentorship and coaching to those. That's what I received in Toastmasters. Every area of leadership that I was a part of, it was because there were mentors there, there were coaches there, there were those members that taught me, shared with me what it is that I should be doing as a leader. Therefore, as a leader that I am now today, mentoring, coaching is my best skill.
That's awesome, Flora. I have to agree with you. I really think that mentoring is a big part about Toastmasters. So thank you for bringing that up. It goes back to the thought process of having the knowledge and not passing it on. And I constantly tell people, you're not in this alone. And I give out my phone number, I give out my email address, and I tell everybody, you have questions, just call me. You're not in this alone. every person here has a vested interest in your success. And that's one of the good things about Toastmasters. We all want everyone in the club to succeed. So we always try to help each other. And I think that's a big, big kudos to the Toastmaster organization. Now, Robert, you mentioned that you wanted the speaking skills and all those other things that were going in there. So I'm going to ask you, because I have a desire to change some of the things that I do. And Robert disappeared, so I can't ask him anything. Gosh dang it. All right, Carolyn, I'm going to ask you then. Let's see what you come up with. So I want to be able to take my stories. Right now, I get up there. If I give a speech, it's going to be about me, and I rattle off all the different things that happen, blah, 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 blah. But those basically come out in my head. They're coming out as a list of facts. And I don't want just a list of facts. I mean, I could put up a picture or a PowerPoint and say, this is what happened, this is what happened. What I want to do is I want to be able to weave those into an actual story, a once upon a time story. So you create some characters and have the characters fill in all the different parts and bring life to the story. So what is your recommendation on how to do that?
Well, my recommendation is make it personal. When you tell a story about yourself, you have to have some anecdotes or something that you did, not just the facts. Just like I can say, I went to 50 football games, but that's just a fact. It's not telling my experience. So I guess when you're telling your story about yourself, in the facts, you have to include an experience, something that the people can relate to, something that's heartfelt, like a story that may include your children or grandchildren, or something that you did that was exciting or fun. That's what what puts you inside the story, telling a story about yourself. It's just like the little guy that played football Sunday. He has a great story. He 470 yards, passing as a rookie. Great story. But as he was telling about his accomplishment, he also gave us a little history about his dad and how his dad influenced him and some personal things about him that made us see him, not just what he did on the football field, but him as a person. So when you're telling your story, give us some insight, even something that you did as a child. We can all relate to children, what we did as children, how we felt, how we wanted to feel. So I always say just put a little story in there that's personal. That's what makes a story about you and not just facts.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, Flora, you mentioned about mentors. And I know that Toastmasters has mentorship programs within clubs. So if the club has it set up right, what does a mentorship program look like?
What I believe a mentorship program looks like is every person, well, first of all, a mentorship program has to be whereas you have seasoned Toastmasters, okay? Seasoned Toastmasters, meaning they're not new members. And every new member that comes to the club as they join, they're assigned a mentor by the Vice President of Education. As you're assigned, I'm gonna say I was assigned to Jim. Jim, as I'm assigned to you, what are your goals that you like to do in, say, this club? What would you like to accomplish? Whatever you say that you would like to accomplish, that's how you and I would work. we would work through the mentorship program that Toastmasters has provided. And not only will we work through the mentorship program, I will work with you on your speeches. I will work with you in your leadership position if you have an officer position. I also, any area that you participate in, I will be mentoring you. I also would mentor you. I would encourage you to be in more than you even anticipated being in. Say for instance, you already have a DTM. Well, Jim, let's get another DTM. Well, what difference does it make? I'm not gonna tell people you have 5 or 6, But Jim, if you come to my club and you're assigned to me as a mentor, I'm gonna be pushing you to get that other award that you should get. I'm also going to assist you in any office positions that you're in. If you're the vice president of education, I'm going to walk you through your position. So as a mentor, that's what I would do if I was your mentor.
Well, thank you, Flora. That just proves my point that you're not in this alone. And everyone should be, grabbed by the hand and here we go. We're going to walk you through. I always feel that children will perform to the level of expectations that are placed upon them. And everyone who comes into a Toastmasters group for the first time is basically a child Toastmaster. So if you set the expectations for them up front and lead them in that direction, then their problems would disappear, especially if they have mentors, because those mentors will take them by the hand and will show them the ropes and walk them through all the pieces and make sure everything is done and all the answers are in place. Robert, sir, it's good to see you again. Popping in and out. I thought maybe you were being Santa Claus, jumping down some chimney somewhere and lost your signal and came back out again.
To our audience, I apologize. I don't know what it is about this internet, but it has definitely been a huge challenge. Where I left off is you were given explaining your experiences with Toastmaster regarding leadership. I don't know where we ended up. So what is this discussion about now?
We ended up on to mentorship.
On mentorship. Yeah. And Toastmasters does offer a mentorship program. So the individual, the new member, is not alone. And it's not only the new member that benefits, it's experienced members as well, because sometimes experienced members, just like myself, you get a little off base and you kind of need to be, focused a little bit more and regain that momentum. But we talked about a little earlier about what Toastmasters, the obvious things about what it does, the public speaking aspect. But one of the things that is not talked about are the benefits that you receive when you least expect it. As an example, impromptu. So Carolyn, can you tell us a little bit about a surprise topic where it kind of threw you off balance, and because of your Toastmasters training, it kind of gathered yourself and
Well, most of the time, the topics normally don't throw me off. But like last night in a meeting, when they asked about a certain movie. Now, I have not been a movie or TV person all my life. I've normally been a reader. So I have just recently started watching movies and TV shows. So I'm a late bloomer, and it's a lot of shows that I just have never seen. In that instance, I would have to tell them about another movie that I have seen that probably is my favorite, or a character or an actor. Like last night, I went to a TM Studios and they like to, it's like acting. So you had to be an actor.
Mhm.
So I chose Taylor Swift, even though she's not an actor, but she is a singer. And she was the person that I could think about because we had to use the word flamboyant. That was our word of the day. So with the impromptu speech, and especially with the word of the day, you do have to think creatively in order to get the word of the day in and to make the speech make sense. Now, a lot of times with the impromptu speaking, it can be fabricated, it doesn't have to be real. So that's one thing that I observed about the impromptu speaking, because only I know whether the subject, what I'm talking about, is real or not, unless it's way out there. So when I'm doing impromptu speaking, I'm not as intimidated as I was when I first began Toastmasters. I realized that you can speak for 1 minute about anything, and sometimes it's just like a song. If you listen to some songs, they only say 3 words maybe, and they repeat those words over and over, but it becomes a hit because for some reason people like that word. So when I'm doing impromptu speaking, I just kind of go off the top of my head and try to think about the subject and make it up as I go. I'm a good storyteller. I make stories up in my head all the time. I have since I was a child. So I can make a story up. And I have done some writing also. I used to keep a journal or a diary so I can write. So, I just fall back on some of my skills.
Robert, she mentioned flamboyant and she mentioned singers, and immediately the only flamboyant that popped into my head was John Denver. Robert's frozen.
Again, his
Oh
internet,
no.
his internet. I know Sunday everybody's internet was acting up. Everybody's. I had to use my phone. So
Oh. Mine cut off for a while last night, but I didn't have a meeting, so I was okay. It happened like 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, anyway, we'll go on with Toastmasters. And let's talk about some other kind of good things. So in Toastmasters, I don't think it's mentioned a lot, but the hidden agenda of Toastmasters is to have everybody build relationships. And that's why they're teaching us all these different skills, right? You're trying to build a relationship between you as the speaker and your audience. And then you get the secondary benefit of you as a person and the people around you. So I kind of enjoy the idea when you're looking at it from a relationship point of view, because it makes speaking a lot easier. I mean, let's face it, when you're out there and you talk to a bunch of strangers, you're probably not going to be as open as you would if you were talking to a bunch of friends around a campfire. But those relationships that you have as a campfire need to go to all the other people, including the strangers. So, Flora, tell us about relationships and how Toastmasters has helped you build those relationships. Flora, did we lose you too? Uh-oh. Well, Carolyn,
I'm
hi.
here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Did you hear the question?
Relationships with what kind of relationships you asked me about?
Yeah, I was wondering how Toastmasters increased or made your relationships better.
Oh boy, Jim, you asked me the proper question because I used to really didn't have a lot of friends or a lot of relationships, although I was very much into being a part of people, very popular with people. And it was one of those things that I always had good relationships with people, but not any close relationships. Okay. They were passing relationships or distant relationships. But through Toastmasters, for being in a club with Jim Kearney and Carolyn Moore and Robert Ortiz, how could I not have a relationship with you? I mean, we've been together at least what, 7, 8 years. I don't even recall.
It's been a while. Yeah.
But it's been a while. I mean, how come I don't have a relationship with you? How come I can't just call you up on the telephone and say, hey, Jim, I need you to do such and such for me. Carolyn, I said, Carolyn, I need this, that, and other. Those are relationships. They're bonded relationships. Oh, Jim, don't get me started about relationships, okay? When I go to area contests, division contests, district contests, and international Toastmasters International conventions, you talk about relationships. I mean, you see everybody, you know everybody, you talk to everybody. I think in 13 years, I missed 2 conventions, and this last one was one of the ones that I missed. So having relationships, boy, I really can just tell you that I think I have a relationship with everybody in Toastmasters. And we have how many members? 300 and some thousand?
369,784.
So when I go to that convention, if all those people are there, I'm there too. And I feel like I'm there with like this. Any of them walk up, talk up, whatever I do, that's our relationship. So relationships is no problem with me, but it did help me gain more confidence in my relationships and have me bond my relationships so much closer. Then wait, I just want to tell you about one more thing, and that is conflict management. Oh, that is a skill that really I learned very well. In, I say, 6 or 7 years of leadership, conflict management was something that I kind of tiptoed into, didn't know much about it, although I have been in many organizations, but everybody have their way. But Toastmasters has taught the skill of conflict management. You won't forget it, no matter which organization you go to. I return the lecture back to you.
Thank you, Flora. Now, you brought up this thing about conflict management. I got to tell you, in the Navy, we had these fan rooms where 2 people walk in and you lock the door and one person walks out at the end and everything was resolved. I'm sure Toastmasters doesn't want to do it that way, but the difference between organizations, right? So really though, when you look at the Pathways organization and the way Pathways is designed and set up, every skill set that you're learning in Pathways is designed to help you with the relationships of the people that you're interacting with. And I don't think that many people understand that, right? Because they're going into the mindset of Toastmasters, oh, it's public speaking, and these are the public speaking skills that we're teaching you. But they're not understanding why those skills are being taught and the why of those relationships. And if people just took the time to understand that why, that relationship would blossom almost immediately. So Robert, tell us a little bit about how Toastmasters change your thought processing on relationships.
Sure. Again, I want to apologize. And if there's any benefit, impromptu was it was demonstrated tonight. after cutting in and out. But with respect to your question and relationships, immensely. It made me a better listener. And with the listening skills that I developed here at Toastmasters, it provided me an opportunity to open a new window of listening with empathy. It changed my perspective a great deal because I look at things more positively instead of running to the default of skepticism. Because it allowed me to listen, as I mentioned, and understand what the individual was saying, you could have a discussion. And having that discussion, that two-way discussion, built better relationships because it allowed me to hear where they're coming from and who that person is and how they explain how they try to get their message across to me. So that relationship, and there's the relationship building was almost infinite because everyone has their own personality. They don't have their own delivery of the message that they're trying to convey. And Toastmasters allowed me to listen, as I mentioned, and understand the individual and their way of trying to get their message across to me. And it made our relationships personally or professionally a lot better because we're able to have a little bit more cordial and friendly conversations.
Awesome. So I have another question for you along the lines of relationship. We're talking about the different things that are going to be going on at an open house. And when you have these new people that are coming into an open house, you want to set expectations for them and you want to build the relationships for them. So how does the open house set the relationships of Toastmasters to the new people that are coming in?
Well, the first thing is what I experienced when I first got involved in Toastmasters, and that was that intimidation. You were scared, you were frightened, you didn't want to embarrass yourself. And what Toastmasters brought me when my first experience was, don't be afraid. It was a supportive environment. And that's the message I would like to convey to their first Toastmasters experience is don't be afraid, because there is constructive feedback, all for the positive. We do, as you mentioned earlier, mentorship. So there's building up their confidence. And pardon me for taking your cliche, you're not alone. And because we want to tell them they're not alone, and there's individuals that are going to be with them the entire journey in Toastmasters, I just want to reassure them that all of these skills in their first time experiences, they're not going to be alone. We're going to be there with them in their entire journey. And I want them to feel at ease and not be intimidated and feel like they're part of a family when they walk in that door.
Awesome, Robert. I have a problem with doing that kind of stuff. I would really like to know how to get around it. I mean, let's face it. Come on. I'm a big guy. I'm 6 feet. I'm nearly 300 pounds. I have tattoos. Oh, if I walk up to someone and say, "Hi, how are you doing?" and I shake their hand and, you squeeze the hand. I've had people tell me, "Oh, you squeeze too hard." But I can understand the intimidation factor of someone who's just meeting me for the first time, especially if they're shorter than me. Well, I need to know how to turn that around. Now, I know that Flora and Carolyn will tell you that maybe when they first met me, they were a little intimidated about me, but then they found out I was really a little teddy bear at heart. So
Well, Jim, you are a big person and not only just in physically, but in height, but in Toastmasters itself. But what you say defines who you are and the way you convey what you say. And you hit the nail on the head. A person could be intimidating, but when they start having that exchange in conversation, you tend to let your guard down. It happened to me, not with you, but with other individuals in the years that I've been in Toastmasters. Is they're highly recognized in certain leadership roles, and you kind of get intimidated until somebody, that leader, asks you, hey, I think you have what it takes. Why don't you give it a try? And I think that reassurance and openness of all the members, no matter where their background comes from, they're all there for improvement of their fellow members. And that networking, and it carries on well beyond the club, because it's about networking well beyond the hour that they may spend together in that club meeting.
Awesome, sir. Thank you. But we're almost out of time here. Are there any other things that you wanted to talk about before we go, Robert?
Well, I just wanted to mention that on December 1st at the Quartz Hill Library in the city of Quartz Hill, it's a Friday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have two speakers. One of them was a competition winner by the name of Corey Cofield, who is a champion, District 33 champion, and he's going to be speaking. And then we're going to have another speaker from the Air Force. He's a master sergeant, and he's going to be our guest speaker as well. So we're going to have events. We're going to have a silent auction. We're going to have membership tables arranged. So you could select the club that is most convenient for you. And when I'm talking about convenient, I'm talking about what day or time that best serves you. And you're going to hear from experienced Toastmasters as well of how they benefited from Toastmasters. And I just want to tell those guests that arrive that ask those questions. What does Toastmasters offer? How is it going to benefit them? Because that's what it's all about, is educating the new members about Toastmasters, but more importantly, how do we help you get educated and get to that point of natural conversation in public speaking and impromptu situations where you can become a champion of that as well. So we're looking forward to it. Don't forget, December 1st, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Quartz Hill Library.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. We're about to sign off here. I want to remind everybody that we are Talents Unlimited. We meet every Wednesday at 7 p.m. California time, right here on this podcast. And I'm hoping that we get to see you next week. Back to you, Madam President.